So we'll get into the discussion directly as the topic for today's payment is receiving global payments safely. Well, some of you who have been dealing with cross-border trade would already be aware about certain aspects, and those who are new, it would be very critical to have a high-level understanding first how regulation looks at the payments and what are the common pitfalls you should be avoiding. So again, all of us are seeing in the news that there is a lot of promotion that is being done. The government of India, various schemes that are being launched for the public to get into export, increase the export. There is a lot of boost in terms of incentives, schemes that are coming to different industry wherever support is needed. At the same time, when you start interacting with the regulated payments institutions or banks, you realize that okay, there are a lot of documentary aspects that are being asked for. There are a lot of questions that are being asked for. Uh, while some of you who have not started the business find it very difficult to answer, but those who are already doing the business or export, they would have seen this issue that payments are sometimes delayed. Your relationship manager is not having any answer that where your money is stuck, why there are delays. They keep on asking question every alternate day, third day, fourth day, and you are not. You feel like you are being kept in dark. There are increased scrutiny with respect to payer. Sometimes they ask that, okay, please provide the details of the payer. If XYZ Limited has remitted the payment, can you please share more details about XYZ Limited? Or if ABC person is related to XYZ, if yes, in what manner and form? So these are the typical questions you would have heard in cross-border trade, whether whenever you are receiving the money or making the outward transaction. And similarly, you would have seen that even if payment has been processed for inward and outward, you still have a hanging sword on top of your head, which is related to EDPMS and IDPMS. And many a times, either your banker is clueless how to address your concern, or your team is not able to give you a certain answer, and you are doing rounds with respect to understanding the regulation. How do we address this particular aspect? This is not covered in the regulation. How do we go for the same? Sometimes when transactions have happened, and particularly in social media, we keep on seeing, somebody is posting a query that, okay, I processed the transaction 3 months back, bank today put my account on block. After 90 days, after 180 days, even after an year for an previous transaction, for which, bank or other institutions may have done scrutiny later on. So why is it happening? We'll try to understand more in detail. What is the regulation? What does it say? And how can we ensure that we do not get stuck within this loop wherein our transactions are getting stuck? Because all of us on this call are doing business, right? Our core focus is doing business seamlessly so that we do not get stuck such compliance issues and continue to do the business. Before getting into this particular slide, FEMA, some of you who may have heard one particular slide we are not talking in this presentation, but I would like to highlight upon the same. Reason being, both guidelines are linked. So as we see, Foreign Exchange Management Act, which was put in place in 1999 and formally went live on 1st June 2000, uh, essentially is a guideline which talks about who are the participants of the foreign exchange, who can do what, how the trade should happen. Essentially, it is a civil law to regulate the seamless flow of foreign currency into India. As the word says, foreign exchange. Wherever there is a foreign exchange, this law comes into the picture. It actually defines what can be done, what type of activities are permitted, where is it classified, with whom should you speak when it comes to foreign exchange management, whether it is your retail payment, whether it is your corporate payment. Even within that, you see there are different policies which are issued. Foreign trade policy, which governs the trade type of goods or services you can export or import. What are the permissible activities? What are non-permissible activity? Regulation at most of the time tries to cover aspects which are very high in frequency, whether there is a contract cancellation, refund is happening, adjustments are happening. All these things have been covered. Foreign Exchange Management Act also provides powers to Reserve Bank of India under Clause 10 to define who are the authorized people in the system to look at the foreign exchange and who can actually help and facilitate such transactions. There are various other acts which are interlinked, like Payments and Settlement Act 2007 PSA is a subsection, or maybe getting the power within the FEMA, because PSA regulates domestic as well as cross-border payments. uh, but for cross-border payment, FEMA becomes critical under PSA as well. So when you talk to us or entities like us who are payment aggregators, we are governed by PSA. However, anything and everything that we do in this business is done under FEMA. Same way, FEMA is not only applicable to us, FEMA is also applicable to exporters. So FEMA also defines what any entity, legal entity or individual can do. So FEMA is an overarching guideline which is applicable to you, me, or bank, or anybody who is engaged in the overall foreign exchange transaction. So that's how it is defined. Another Payment Settlement Act that I spoke about. There is one more interesting act which, lot of the times you will see it should be known to us and to you. Typically, foreign companies who are operating into this space and not regulated in India avoid talking about this. Reason being, they are not incorporated in India. So for them, it's like anything and everything that they do, the subsequent compliance burden is on exporter or importer. It's not on them because they are not incorporated in India. And that's the reason we are discussing this in detail. This guideline is PMLA, Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002. What is PMLA? PMLA is a criminal law. And this is essentially built to combat the money laundering activity. So what happens? Why are we talking about PMLA and FEMA in the same call? Enforcement agencies for FEMA and enforcement agency for PMLA are same. It is enforcement directorate. PMLA is a larger ambit of things, which is having rigorous imprisonment and other thing because it is criminal law. It talks about domestic payment as well as cross-border payment. But PMLA also gets powers from FEMA. So if there is a violation to FEMA, automatically under criminal law, it can also be covered under PMLA. And this is where you will see you would have seen at many instances in newspaper in news that ED has been questioning certain officials, and at that time they are not very clear whether this is a charge under FEMA or this is a charge under PMLA. But again, investigating agency is same, interpretation of the law is different. Subsequent harassment is done to the public if they are not aware of the law. So this is where it becomes very critical that we are all very clear about FEMA and payments so that we avoid getting on the side of PMLA, which can, challenge all of us individually or at company level. So rule book, I would advise all of you to just we cannot do a detailed session on FEMA, but we can get into the nitty-gritties which are applicable to our business. And the rule book is very clear. Export proceeds are not just credit. Many a times you would have seen that, foreign currency inward coming to India, the regulation is very relaxed. But foreign currency moving out of India, the regulation is not that relaxed. It is typically stringent, document heavy, is because of by nature, as a country, we are receiving the money. So sometimes you feel like, okay, it is relaxed. But uh, the reality is, even though it is relaxed, at a country level, we may have benefited, made simplified regulation, but subsequent compliance has remained as is. One has to prove why the foreign payment has been coming in or going out. Why it matters now? Because as part of regulatory tightening, you would have seen how the overall global world is shaping up. There are tariffs, there are bilateral equations, there are FTAs which are being signed to counter some of the critical measures by countries wherein who have put up tariff to Indian exports. In view of all these things, there is also an underlying aspect which all of us read in the news. We do not need to talk it in as many words, is related to governments getting involved. And when governments get involved, there is, of course, a money movement to, influence the government decision making. So there could be a scenario wherein country X is making payment to certain entities in country B to influence local aspects. These are the things which are typically, not straightforward trade activities, but typically go through financial institutions only, and there is a proper structuring done for the same way it happens for outwards also. So regulators in such volatile global scenario or banks need to be all the more cautious. And even though you may have been doing business for over 8 to 10 years or whatever time frame, you will be asked more questions, because the checks or enforcement of PMLA is a regulated institution's responsibility. So if anything gets missed at our end, at banks, and we get questions, so you will be asked more questions. The questions does not mean that your transaction is being viewed as non-genuine. These questions are just to ascertain that whenever there are audits that are happening, the regulated institutions do have a proper evidence, proper trail to justify why do they feel this is a genuine transaction. So that's the underlying aspect. Why it is non-negotiable, that I already spoke about, because it also draws powers. Enforcement Directorate manages the same, and God forbid, nobody would want to get into that loop, uh, and the harassment that it causes to the business and to individual. So we need to be clear that our transactions are safe, we are safe, and what does it mean under FEMA? We will talk in this slide. Again, whenever you are doing a foreign currency transaction, take up a scenario domestically also. You go to a shop, you buy something, you make cash payment or you make UPI payments. There is something that you have bought or sold. There is a definitely invoice which is available. And in some cases, even in domestic cases, whether you are doing a bulk purchase of, somebody who is running a manufacturing factory would understand, even though from a local cobbler, you're buying shoes for your factory staff, there is some sort of contract or quotation that you have in place. Uh, there would be some documentary thing that you will do. You will have, quotations, you will have approvals internally, and you will put these documents in place. So it is very critical that you have the documents in place, which can be actually shown to your financial institution to establish that this is the underlying contract for which payment is coming in or going out. The contract could be ongoing in nature. It could be running into years. It could be one-time contract, whatever it is, but it should be there and clearly defining the tenor of the contract. At the same time, the parties under the contract should be very well defined. Who would be the buyer? Who would be the seller? So when you get payment from A, and your financial institution asks you that what is the relationship between A and you, then you should be able to explain that, okay, A and the recipient company has got into contract. And this is the payment against which, for which we have provided the invoice. Now, there has to be, again, a direct connection between invoices and contract. Why do we say that it cannot be that you executed contract with A, but you are invoicing B and payment is coming from C? These are the things which cannot be justified in normal course also, and anybody will question. So when you get into contract becomes a very critical aspect of your export or import journey. You be very clear in the contract who is buying the good, who is your agent, who the payment will come from. If payment is coming from a different entity than the original, and then the party who is buying the good, what is the relationship between them? You satisfy yourself. Until and unless you are satisfied, don't think that you will be able to satisfy the regulator. There are a lot of things we understand in business that happens. Okay, how does it matter? Let's sell, paisa kahin se bhi aaye, let it come. But when it comes to documentary proof or prove the legitimacy, it becomes very difficult. Second aspect, to monitor these transactions and ensure that you do not get into any sort of trouble, particularly, you also need to prove that transaction is legitimate. Taking an example, if there is a company, say based out of Singapore, or there is a company based out of UAE, says I'm a payment institution, I'll make the payment to you. And you say, okay, make the payment. But who is your recipient entity? So regulation is very clear. An AD1 bank can settle the payment to you, or a payment aggregator cross-border can settle to you. These are RBI authorized payment institution. Anything and everything coming outside this channel would be a clear violation. There are few aspects which are not in violation, but those routes are, very, very cumbersome for the exporters. Sometimes what happens, there could be an overseas entity which may have done a tie-up with, say, ICICI Bank or SBI, and then they are making the payment from there. Ultimately, ICICI or SBI, who are the AD1s, are only settling the money. But in this case, the whole challenge is tomorrow, if there is a challenge with respect to, purpose code, the next point is provable. How do you prove this is a transaction for so and so nature? If the remitter says this is a gift payment, because many a times what happens, the remitters also have to disclose for what are they sending the payment. Now, taking a scenario for you to understand it in crystal clear manner, there is a business, for example, in UAE, and they want to buy some toys. They might be retailer of the toys, and they are buying it from a company in India, say based out of Meerut, or say somewhere in Mysore or any other place. Their regulation says that if you are importing toys for business, there is an import duty of XYZ. And you in your country, pretty much you have IC, you can export, you have all the certifications in place, you have your ED code maintained with custom, you get into a contract and make the payment. Now, if the payment comes through your AD1 bank or a PACB like us, you declare what is the purpose of this transaction. Now, in FIRA, the purpose of transaction would be mentioned at P0102, 0103, whatever is the use case, because you are sending goods, so it can be either advance or after shipment of the goods. If the payment is made by the overseas remitter through his entity under a tie-up with, say, SBI or ICICI, the scenario that I was mentioning about, in this case, you are not a customer of ICICI or SBI. It is an overseas PSP, who is customer of ICICI and SBI. So when they remit, as per their country regulation, think of a scenario wherein the party thinks that if I declare it as a gift payment, I'm not supposed to pay so much of duty. And the payment goes without any scrutiny in a faster manner. So he declares it as a gift rather than showing it as a business transaction. The FIRA, first of all, you have to chase ICICI and SBI manually, separately, without having relationship for a FIRA. Second, when you get the FIRA by paying a fee on the counter and all, you realize purpose code is mentioned as gift. Now you are into trouble. You are into soup that what to do with this payment, because I cannot show it as business transaction. FIRA says gift, and then you keep doing the rounds to the branch of SBI or ICICI for that matter. That I have shipped the goods. This is the shipping bill. Please change it to P0102 or 0103. But the bank says sorry, we don't know you. We have been told by the remitter that this is the gift. You go and speak to the remitter and then get it changed. Now, these are some of the very finer nuances that I spoke about. There could be other grave concerns also, which might come into the picture. But this is something you need to be very clear, because FIRA is a provable receipt. You need to ensure that FIRA is being provided to you by an RBI authorized agency. And the route is pretty much in your control. As long as things are in your control, you can manage things. So if you work with me or any other PACB or a bank, uh, and you work with them, FIRA is provided by them only, you can always, go speak or there is a recourse mechanism available to you. There is a banking ombudsman. You can raise a complaint to the regulatory institution. You can go to ombudsman and you know ensure that your problems are heard, addressed in a proper manner. But for an overseas entity, for with which you do not have any direct linkage, it becomes all the more problematic that you can't go back to them. You don't have a recourse on them. So that's where our advice has always been: work with a regulated financial institution which is registered in India, registered with RBI. Your money always remains safe, and you can actually prove subsequently to any agency, whether it is your chartered accountant, whether it is enforcement directorate or regulator or anybody who questions you on the genuinity of the transaction, you can provide the necessary documents. Timelines are again something pretty similar. Timelines are something you need to be very clear of. There are timelines which are linked to us. There are timelines which are linked to you. There has been ongoing change with respect to export realization timeline. There was a time when it used to be 180 days, increased to 270 days. In the recent amendment now, for some of the industries, the realization time frame has been enhanced to 15 months also. But this is very critical for you to understand that realization should happen in time. Uh, you may have realized the payment a month later, but you have to fulfill the leg of regularization by submitting the necessary shipment documents and payment documents along in the same docket. Give it to bank that, okay, this is the payment, this is the shipment. Please close it on the government portal. You may have shipped, you may have realized, but if you have not regularized it on EDPMS and IDPMS, it is a major challenge because regulator is seeing that you have not closed the necessary export inwards. So that's something we need to be very, very clear and be very focused on. Opt for systems which are pretty much digital. You do not need to be dependent on a lot of manual work, documents that you have to track. Okay, whether this document is closed or not. Thankfully, DGFT has digitized the portal wherein you can actually see and track. Uh, in my banking experience, I have seen a lot of time. I worked with Citi and ICICI Bank managing a trade for more than 15 years, and I realized that uh, banks customers used to come to us say that, sir, your team confirmed that it is closed, but it's not closed. My other banker can check that shipping bill is still showing as outstanding. So these are some of the checks. Sometimes banks, what they do, they push the information in a batch manner, in a week, on a weekly basis or fortnightly basis. But at your end, it is not closed. So thankfully, this opacity has been addressed by DGFT. And thanks to FIO for that they were working closely with DGFT on this piece, that exporters should have clear visibility. They were also able to bring the EBRC piece in place, that why should EBRC be pushed by the banks only? It can be generated by the exporters directly if they have the IRM and shipping bill information. So that's where it has helped. So again, in summarizing this particular piece, under FEMA, the safe means you should be able to explain the transaction, who paid, why they paid, what is your relationship with the entity, is there a contract or a shipment or service proof? It has to be legitimate, coming through a regulated institution. It has to be provable. You should be able to produce the documents subsequently. Even after 3 years or 4 years, if you are asked, you should have a digital repository of the same. Or if you do not have a digital repository, you have to keep the physical document. So it has to be made available. Timelines, again, the regularization timelines are very, very critical and important, because again, you realize the payment, you ship the good, but as per FEMA, it is still outstanding with regulator, Reserve Bank of India. So you may hear something from them. Your export licenses may be at risk. Your temporary payments might be at risk. You may be put up penalties on something, or there could be indirect correlation also. Many a times, what is happening that exporters are not realizing that you got the IRM, you generated the BRC from the portal, you claim the duty drawback. Done. But one critical leg, you forgot that regularize the document with the bank on EDPMS. Remained outstanding. Subsequently, now this information sharing is happening across the departments. So the moment this happens, RBI say informs the ministry that duty drawback has been claimed, but there is no regularization. This is not realized. So it's a false declaration. So then duty drawbacks can be claimed back. You may get a notice. So these are some of the pitfalls of not doing activity at our end. Again, while I have touched upon this particular aspect briefly in previous page, there are specific routes. There are AD1 banks, authorized dealer banks. I don't think I need to explain it to anyone, whether it is for domestic payment or cross-border payment. All of us are pretty much aware. There are banks with whom we work. One of the things that you need to understand, because this is a scenario, some of you who are working in tier B, tier C city may be having relationship with a cooperative bank or a smaller tier bank. It could be small finance bank or payments bank. Authorized dealer banks are the banks which are permitted by Reserve Bank of India to deal in foreign currency. Not all banks are authorized dealer bank. They call it AD1, authorized dealer one. Now, whenever you do foreign currency transaction, the reporting and necessary, compliances are managed by AD1. So it is very critical that you ascertain that you work with AD1 bank. There used to be a challenge historically, and that's what we have seen, particularly during my ICICI and City days, that exporters say working with. I'm just taking a name for simplicity perspective. Say exporter is working with a couple cooperative bank, or exporter is working with the Surat People's Cooperative Bank. Uh, they do not have AD1. So for whenever they get into export, they go to an AD1 bank, say ICICI or SBI, but always face a challenge that, there are working capital limits given by these banks. So necessarily you have to take working capital limit from other bank. Otherwise, you can't open account for export transaction. How will you do? So a lot of things have been simplified now with PACBs coming into picture. So this is the second route we are talking about. Earlier, there were only domestic payment aggregators who were facilitating the digital payment, card-based collections. Some of you who may be having, checkout or website from where you are selling the goods or services. There were card collection companies likes of RazorPay, PayU, and all who were providing the card-based collection. But RBI has introduced a new category, which is very critical to understand, is PACB. It's been almost 2.5 years now since this guideline have been come up. A lot of foreign companies who were operating in India had to shut their shop, but they are still operating by way of unregulated route, which I highlighted in the previous page, because they don't want to lose the business as long as the exporter is not. As long as exporter is at risk and not them, they are continuing to offer that solution. So it is very critical that even if you are using a fintech, be very clear whether that fintech is permitted as per RBI, has final authorization to operate, has any live business as per regulator. So this is very, very important aspect. So BRISKPE is a authorized payment aggregator for export and import payment. And we do facilitate payments like multi-currency accounts in different geography, collect locally. Solution benefits, we can talk separately. This session is not for that, but you can explore regulated PSEBs because we are RBI authorized. And third, payment gateway that I said that some of you might be aware, we all go to websites, we make the payments by card or UPI. So those payment solutions are also available to you to integrate when an overseas payer is making the payment. Again, costly. Of course, card charges, depending on geography, are very different. But yes, that is one of the option. Now, coming to common mistakes. Some parts we added earlier, but let's get into detail of these cases. Name mismatches, one of the major issue. Now, in our domestic, transactions, all of us would have seen whenever you get into a transaction domestically, you ask for a cancelled check. there used to be a process when asked for a cancelled check or, bank confirmation letter. Because when you add a dealer, vendor in your ERP, you want to ensure that name is properly captured. Because if not today, in future, you will be going for some sort of digitization. Even if your ERP is very basic today, you will be migrating to a higher end ERP. And at that point of time, you would not want to do a lot of manual activities. You want that everything based on name should auto match. So when we do this in domestic business, why don't we follow this practice in cross-border business also? Because what happens if a company making a payment to you uh, has a different name from which it is making the payment, you will always have issue under FEMA. Taking a classic example that we have seen in India, again, I'll take our example. If I run a proprietary firm, uh, Go Brist Technologies, I'm a proprietor. That's it. And there is a private limited company, Go Brist Technologies Private Limited. I might be owning both the companies, but bank accounts would be different. It cannot happen that you contract with A, but payment is coming from B. Exporter might be under impression that payment is coming from Go Brist Technologies only. But in reality, when the full legal name is matched as per FEMA, there is a mismatch. Now, each geography overseas also has something like that. There are limited companies, there are proprietary companies. So be very clear when you receive the payment. Also tell your counterparty that at your end, current account, saving account might not differ. But if you have done an agreement with the name ABC Private Limited, please ensure that you make payment from account of ABC Private Limited. This is very, very critical and important in cross-border payment. Any name mismatch will lead you in trouble. Second, purpose code confusion. Nature of transaction doesn't align with supporting document. This is another aspect. While we spoke about purpose code, that purpose code should be clearly captured, and this is one of the critical aspect. Uh, if it is advance payment coming before shipment, don't declare it as post-shipment payment. Otherwise, you will not be able to regularize it or close the entry on the system. If it is post-shipment payment, don't declare it as an advance just because you don't have to provide any document to the bank. This is one of the classic case that we wanted to refer, because all of us may have seen, and in banking, I've seen a lot of cases wherein customers say declare it advance, you will get the money instantly. Otherwise, the moment you say it is realization, give invoice number and all these things. So take the money as advance, we will see it later on. See, if you have a running business, which is in process wherein, you always have a bill, which are after the realization date, you can manage with that scenario. But if you have certain number of shipments happening in a month, then this could lead you in trouble. And advance payment receipt should not be used in post facto. Bank will not accept it. Then you have to go back, get the purpose code changed. There are bank specific processes not known to a lot of exporters, and they feel my bank is bad or my payment institution is bad. So even if you come to me for change, if it is less than 3 month old transaction, I may do it in 7 to 15 days. If it is 3 months old, then it may take further 3 to 4 months. If it is 9 months old, then sorry, most likely will not be able to change the purpose code, because we do regulatory reporting based on the purpose code, and there are processes and policies laid out by Reserve Bank itself for the banks and entities like us, payment aggregators, cross-border, that after a particular time frame, whether we can change the purpose code or not. So that's one of the major reason exporters should be very clear with respect to declaring purpose code. Second, there could be underlying contract or email communications that might be asked as part of the transaction monitoring. But if you are saying that you are giving consulting services, but you are receiving payment for goods, or you are saying you are going to export goods, but payments are coming for consulting services, this may not fly. Uh, some of the cases that I would like to highlight, and this is what people have been doing, that some of the countries wherein import duty below a particular threshold is not very high, so but shipment value is of higher amount, people declare different values. and then show contract of goods and receive payments as service. These are some of the challenges which your payment processor will not be able to process the same, or you may land into trouble subsequently if there are mismatches in declarations with customs authority with respect to payments that are coming to you. So be mindful of that. Docs not ready again. As the verbiage clarifies, invoice, shipping bill, service proof, these have to be there whenever there are bank queries. Third party payment, this is one of the major issue. Whenever the name mismatch happens, it is treated as third party. So one of the P's that I mentioned earlier, whenever you contract with the counterparty, please ensure that you have the third party is mentioned in the agreement. If you are mentioning it, you are solving for any future problem. There could be scenarios in business. There are n number of scenarios. I may be a party in India. I'm helping another company to buy the goods. The payment might be going through me because I don't want to disclose my margin directly, at what rate I'm buying or at what rate I'm selling. So these scenarios are there while shipment may happen to the factory directly. So disclose it upfront that who is your buyer, who is your payer, who the goods are going to be, to avoid any explanation that you may have to give to the regulatory agency. Vague narration, again, this is very critical, whether it is goods or service explanation, or sometimes in remittance when the payment comes by Swift or payment comes by our solution also. Sometimes there are words mentioned by counterparties which lead to issue. I'll tell you a classic example. We are a regulated entity, the same gift piece that I mentioned. So what some of the entities started doing, when some of the exporters realized that they were having issue with respect to these overseas entities, they started working with us. But their remitters were still mentioning it as a gift. So what was happening? You are telling me this is export of goods. Counterparty is declaring it as a gift to their banker. In my system, this gift as a narration is coming. You get to speak to both the parties to clarify. Uh, as a business, your first reaction would be let the payment come. Why my payment institution, be it bank or PSCB, is causing a lot of issue. But please see this. These are the auditable instances. Tomorrow, if there is anything, any transaction inquiry that happens on you by income tax, by ED, by RBI, any other authority, they are well within their rights to ask us also for your information. At that point of time, if they see that what was the narration that was given by the counterparty and all, then it becomes challenging. So when you work with regulated entity, one of the biggest advantage for you is there are common errors which actually continue to be in the system. You are able to eliminate it over a period of time. As a business owner, as a finance controller, as a logistics manager, sometimes you or your team may have ignored some of the things. But working with a regulated institution, we'll keep on telling you, sir, this is an issue, please rectify it. This is an issue, please rectify it. So whenever your regulated entity is coming and telling you, this is an issue, please rectify it, we may not say in as many words that this is because of FEMA, this is because of PMLA, this is because of something else, but it is always in your best interest. In good confidence, you can speak to your relationship manager that let us know why, how it impacts my business. If this is not happening, they may be able to tell you, but upfront they will not tell you because there are things which bar or prohibit regulated institution, which are known as tipping off. So rather than that, you ask that how do we improve our processes? What do we do to avoid such things in future? Rather than asking what happened in this transaction, because there are guidelines under tipping off. So we are not allowed to, tell an exporter. A bank is not allowed to tell an exporter or importer that how to do the things. That's where I said that based on our experiences, we can suggest to you, advise to you, but we are not legal opinion provider. We are not certified chartered accountant. We are not lawyers. So best practices are always there, which we can help you with, and proof to be kept for later on. Uh, Again, how it impacts: funds go on hold, repeat bank clarification loops, and EDPMS closures delays. If you do not have these things, these are avoidable pretty much. Moving to again some of the aspects why payments get stuck and how banks evaluate export receipts. They just don't hold the payments, right? They risk score it internally. They do a lot of things at back end. If any one of you have time, uh, go through KYC master direction applicable to the banks, go through KYC master direction applicable to us. Many a times we are questioned that, why do you need bank statement as a proof? Because when somebody is doing business, as regulated entities needs to establish that, okay, this company is well within their capacity to do this much business. So they need to see whether you hold that much fund, whether your business has that much money. It could be anything. It could be audited financial report, which is proving that you have that much of net worth. It's pretty much like when you also go to market, right? Somebody may come to you and say, I'll get the moon for you. How will he get the moon for you? So similarly, when you tell a regulated institution, I'll do billions of dollars, how will they know that you do billions of dollars? And processing of billions of dollars is not a challenging thing, not part of money laundering or any other thing. So they do risk scoring of the customers. They do risk scoring of the transactions. They look at the purpose code or nature of the transactions. What was the underlying reason for which you were supposed to get the money, and why the payment is coming up. These are very critical and enforced to all of us equally. Uh, always understand, as an exporter, we as a regulated institution are never supposed to tell anyone, but reality is, if you are not able to satisfy your payment institution, forget about us, anyone in the financial system, there is some reporting which is done. Those reportings could become trouble for you later on. You may not know. Sometimes you may think that, okay, this institution is doing for me seamlessly without asking question. He's just doing his business, but they might be reporting you on an ongoing basis as a red flag. So these are the things you need to be very, very clear, and hear your banker or hear your payment provider. Avoid these things. If they are asking for something, you also ensure that in your process, you should have that in place. Today, you might not be asking for certain details, which your banker is asking for. Going forward in all contract, please ensure that you have those details, because these lead to risk. See, the risk could be of anything. A person designated a terrorist, maybe in Germany or in Australia, might have direct, indirect linkage to the company which is dealing with you. While today you feel that, okay, we should do this business, let's move ahead, let's go ahead. But later on, if anything happens anywhere in the world, there are scrutinies that happen to the transaction. We cannot ensure anything and everything as an exporter on day zero. But what you can ensure that if your financial institution is asking for any detail, you also do push your party for the same. If you're not able to get it, it's a different thing. You can tell your institution, I'm not getting it. As simple as that. The party is not supporting it. But then be mindful to do any future business with that party also. Because why anybody who is genuine will not provide the details? That's the only thing. So anything, anytime in the financial transaction, you feel your counterparty feels that no, we'll not provide this information. Uh, See, we are all dealing with regulated institution, right? The data privacy law applies to us. DPDA applies to us, to banks. So don't. Many a times I have heard that, how can I provide you this data if you don't keep it safe? Then, so there is no end to if you don't keep it safe. That's where we are saying that work with the regulated entity. If they don't keep your data safe, there are checks available for that. But if you deal with overseas entities, unregulated entity who don't keep your data safe, there is a high risk. Because first of all, you are not supposed to provide the details to them. You are only supposed to provide the details to regulated entity. So you can be assured when you are dealing with regulated entity, your data is safe, your counterparty details are not going anywhere. So you are dealing with certain set of customers. It will not be known to other person that you are dealing with such customer, because data walls are created. I can see certain set of data. My team member Shashank, who is sitting over here, can see certain set of data for the customer. My compliance team member would not be able to see certain set of data. So whether it is mobile number, email ID, contract details, not anyone or everyone in the organization is able to see everything. So your data has, systems have Chinese wall created. And if they have not created, regulator is there to look at the same. So be assured that you look at these aspects. Uh, Traceability again, if the payment is coming through a lot of intermediaries, that also causes a risk. That's the reason we spoke about third party piece also, that you should have a third parties also declared in the transaction, what they are doing in the transaction, how are they involved. Unknown payers, high risk profiles, why we did speak about that. Sometimes the payer's name might be reflecting somewhere. That's the reason bank is asking you for more details. Get more details. You will also be safe. Bank will also be safe, and genuine business can continue. I think we have covered most of the things. You may or may not have seen these scenarios in day-to-day transaction, but try to understand the logic behind the same. It's not that your FI, some banks do it intentionally, they delay it, but that's not bank-specific process. That's people-specific. Sometimes people delay it, but process-wise, as long as satisfactory answers are available, transactions are processed at a very fast pace. I think pretty much covered this page also. Right beneficiary invoice. So this is another thing. When we spoke about the remittance in the previous one, it was more that what is coming to us in this system. At the same time, invoice name should also be mentioned correctly. These are some of the errors which could arise at exporters end or importers end, that when you raise the invoice or when you work on the documents, you also ensure that it is exactly matches the beneficiary or registered entity. Proofs are prepared well in advance for submission so that you can close it timely. The purpose is properly mentioned, and the payer is known and verified. See, uh, business is of interest to all of us. Many a times what happens, and this is what we have seen, uh, once you build trust relationship with your counterparties, you are able to do more business. But whenever there are new buyers, sometimes your payment institutions can help you with some sort of soft check, that whether this party is genuine as per various databases that they maintain, and you can make good use of the same whenever you are getting into contract with a newer party. So that will help you to ensure that when your payment comes, you do not get into trouble. So leverage those relationship with your payment providers, and that will help you. And as a PACB entity, we are very agile over there and work with you closely, because FTAs are being executed different between different countries, and Pratik ji would agree, your team would agree, between Australia, between UK, between Africa, a lot of newer geographies also we are opening up. So you are gonna deal with the newer people, you will get newer contract. So it is very critical that you establish upfront. Sometimes there are databases which are put up in public place. Exporters who have high number of shipments and typically to different parties, they take those databases, look at the history. I'm not promoting any platform, but there are two, three platforms that we have seen in the market who provide very basic subscription, 10,000 a month, or 30,000 for 6 months, or 50,000 annual. You can always search the details with respect to a particular person. Say XYZ in Africa wants to buy something from you. It is possible that he might be buying something for the first time from India. But through these databases, you can always check that for how long this person has been a buyer in Africa. He might be buying from Australia, he might be buying from Afghanistan, he might be buying from Europe over a period of time. But you are able to identify, okay, yes, this is a genuine buyer. So and this can be done in case of goods, in case of services, it becomes very challenging. But yes, genuinity of the buyer is very critical. You should know somebody giving you a contract for $10 million, whether he has done in his lifetime $10 million of business or not. And if not, the kind of due diligence we do on you, you should also do on that party. That okay, you are saying you will do $10 million, but what is your source of fund? Who is giving you money? Because ultimately you are getting into a contract, so that also becomes very, very critical. Again, this is about BRISKPE, how we process the payments. We spoke about some of the features. We do offer multi-currency accounts. If you have overseas entities, then If you have overseas buyers who may have had challenges with respect to import payments, we also offer rupee collection account to international entities and help them with the IDPMS closure. On export front, we are live on for B2B flows, D2C flows, and marketplace flow. All our sellers are able to receive payments through Amazon, through Zoom, which is another marketplace. There are other marketplaces with which we are working closely, and very soon we'll be live over there also. The advantage is one, we are PSCB approved by RBI. So you can be assured that at least RBI regulation is completely being adhered by the company. There are data security laws. Your data is in country. It's not like we are a Chinese company or we are a US company wherein your data is going to US server or Chinese server. Data is pretty much in India as per India DPDA Act. It is being protected. It is being addressed. Uh, Payer and invoice traceability. You are able to establish a clear linkage between who paid what amount for and what is the detail. So our application, web UI is very transparent in terms of, I think no other player offers the web app. You can log in on Chrome on mobile, but we have an application in place so that you don't have to rely on, app as in Chrome and other things. You have an app which is pretty much protected. And as a business owner, even if your team is managing the transaction, you can see everything. You can see invoice tracking, how many pending payments are there. If the invoices are uploaded upfront, you can send notification to your parties on the go. You don't have to tell your accounts team by calling repeatedly that please remind that party to make the payment. You can send a mail from our app itself directly if the invoice is already there. If there are realized invoices, you can see instant notification payment received. Then you know that, okay, within 18 months, BRISKPE in any case settles all the payments in current account. So you can plan the payouts and other things. FIRA and equivalent documents are issued instantly. We don't take time like banks 2 to 7 days or some other fintechs who take even 30 days to provide FIRA. The moment funds hit your account, immediately FIRA is generated. So that is available. You have a digital repository. In future, if you have a requirement uh, from auditor, from any other tax authority, you don't need to look through the documents or don't have to search through the mail. Just come to our application, enter the date, download the FIRA. And that's the simplest process, or we have provided you a digital repository for the same. And clearer documentation, purpose code related, like typically what happens in case of banks. Once the payment has been realized, you have to provide the disposal instruction. And what we have done, we have changed the whole process. You can provide the disposal upfront. You tell me that you are going to receive payment from XYZ for so and so purpose. The moment payment hits, I auto match and process. Why to waste time on that? In any case, you're going to get the payment, right? So that can be done in advance. Even if you have not done that and there is an unidentified unplanned payment that comes up, immediately app and mail notification goes to you. You can disclose it over there and get going. रात में आप 12 बजे भी बैठ के around 12 o'clock, whatever time you feel like, you can give the disposal and payments can get processed. We are the only fintech company which has been processing the EDPMS closure also for the exporter. Currently, it is only restricted to you having a relationship with HDFC Bank, even though, shipping bill might be lodged against SBI, ICICI. But if you have a relationship with HDFC, then you don't deal with the bank. You submit the closure request to us. And if the payment is processed by us, you can submit the contract details because the invoice and the FIRA is already available with us. And then we can get the same closed with the bank directly through our platform. So you don't have to follow up, do manual tracking and all those things with your branch. I think that's it. We are well within our time, Pratik ji. Exact 12:30.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you, Induji, for giving us deep insights about that, how to be compliant with the uh, payments. Now, I would like to ask participants that whoever wants to ask the questions, please raise your hand. So my colleague Chirag will allow everyone to be a part of or to ask the questions. Please raise your hand in chat box.
till then
There is a
we'll
tool
take
to raise the
questions.
hand in React button.
Yeah, so Pratik, till then we'll take the questions which are posted in the chat box.
Okay, okay,
By the
please.
time participants raise hand. Just okay, we have a question from Mr. Manish Sabharwal. Will RBI force AD to close legacy open shipping bills and inward remittances not being squared off for years, although well within 5% limit? Slides are not moving, somebody said. So was there an issue? Because I didn't realize if slides were moving or not.
They were visible,
We
sir.
haven't seen any issue. Maybe
Okay.
for certain time.
Okay. So, Mr. Sabharwal, again, RBI does force AD1s, and I have represented a lot of exporter. I have been summoned as a banker multiple times by FED to represent why so many outstanding bills are there. It may not be known to the exporters, but yes, we do get summoned. Again, from priority perspective, 80-20 rule applies everywhere. So what we have seen typically, cases like of Infosys, TCS and all, wherein or L&T, Vedanta, wherein shipping bills are huge in number in lakhs. There any outstanding, if it is there, then banks get summoned. But for mid and smaller size exporters, until and unless exporter has complained to regulator that my bank has not been supporting and I have sent so many closure requests, I'm well within my rights, they have not summoned the banks. So hope you get your answer that you can write to your regulator as long as you have done your bit and your bank is not supporting. Second, if there are scenarios, but before writing to regulator, please understand from your banker why these have not been closed, even though these fall within 5%. Is there any specific reason because of which they are not closing it? They may have a genuine reason. I still believe that it is very unlikely scenario until and unless that particular staff of the branch is so lazy that they are not willing to help you or they are so overloaded with work. Your first option should be through bank only. You meet the senior manager, branch manager, or regionals. Internally, first escalate to the bank. There could be a genuine reason which may need address at your end. So then only write to regulator. Otherwise, we look bad in front of regulator. The banker may go and say, "Sir, exporter ने नहीं किया, मैं क्या करूँगा?" So you should know that first, that there is nothing pending at your end. That's my advice.
Thank you, Induji. Induji, we have a participant who raised their hand, so we will also go for the Q&A, which is in
Sure.
chat box. But before that, Mr.
We take
Anil
one by
Kumar
one.
Gupta.
One person who raised hand and one from the chat box. That is.
So there is Mr. Anil Kumar Gupta. Anilji, kindly unmute yourself.
Sir, myself Anita for Thailand exam traders. Actually, I
Hmm.
am exporting rice to Mozambique. Now I am facing the problem to receive my money from the Mozambique. As for example, the banker of the Millennium Bank and the client in sending bank statement, they are just trying to send the US dollar to India, but it is stuck in America, Citibank America. Now my customer is saying that he can be routed dollar through Dubai. What I should do?
Sir, there are some answers or there are some options which are possible. Uh, I would advise that one of my team members speaks to you. There are two, three alternatives which are available. Again, we need to ascertain first that you do not get into FEMA related issue because sometimes what happens, Mozambique or some of the African geographies do have challenge and could be flagged transaction. City being my ex employer, I can tell you confidently that if transaction got stuck at City, there must be some genuine reason. So I would advise my team member looks at the transaction. We can facilitate that transaction. We can help you receive the same, but we want to understand first that by routing the payment through Dubai or any other route, you do not get into trouble as part of FEMA at any point of time, and you are
Right,
doing it well within the permissible guideline.
right, sir. Right, sir.
So I'll request Shashank, anybody who has posted their number, or Aditya, if you can post a centralized number and then Anilji
Yes, sir.
can connect on that,
Yes,
assign
yes, doing that.
one of the RM. Assign it to RM who looks at the goods transaction more. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
So we'll
so
take
the
next
second
one
one we
question
have
from
Mr.
chat.
Srinivasa Rao.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Srinivas.
I am unable to.
Yes, you're
We can
audible,
hear
sir.
you, sir.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Sir, now this RBI relax the payment means payment regulation under 10 lakhs.
Right, sir.
So now this mismatch of consignee and remitter name and these things, we will face the same problem as the previous, or those things also be relaxed, sir, under this new guidelines.
Sir, I give you a perspective where this regulation has come from. What is the perspective? And where should you use it more and use it judiciously to avoid any subsequent action? Typically, name mismatch is not envisaged in this. What has been envisaged in this guideline that there are exporters who might be selling on marketplace, and this whole relaxation came up more from the perspective of marketplace sellers or those who have received the amount in short. So I'll highlight scenario so that you are crystal clear. On marketplace, typically what happens if you're selling goods worth $100, typically you pay to marketplace an amount of say 20 to 30 for marketing, some amount for logistics. You get the net settlement. So your shipping bill of $100 never and realization of $50 never matches. That is the prime objective of addressing it or bringing this guideline. Then up to 10 lakhs, it is absolutely fine. You can go ahead with self-declaration. Second piece is the 5% of short realization. What used to happen many a times, bank to bank, some banks used to say, no, you go and get me the certificate from your CA or statutory auditor. That is a cost, 500 rupees, 3,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees. And if you go to your statutory auditor, he may charge more also. That was a major cost, which was, highlighted by a lot of exporters. So this particular aspect is also being covered in this, that if there is a short realization and your realization amount is small, shipping bill amount is small, you do not have to bear this cost because you understand on 10 lakhs transaction, uh, 10 lakh rupees shipment, how much you are making. And if you end up paying to auditor and others a fixed amount, your margin gets compromised. So this is another aspect. Name mismatch is not envisaged. What may happen? You may still self-declare and close the bill. Very much possible. Uh, Bill will get closed. For now, the matter is done. But for such cases, I'm sure there would be sampling as per the process that would be done. And if they see that name mismatch case, again, our regulator has not defined any scenario in this. I have just given you the background where it is coming from. You can still go ahead. If there is a name mismatch, minor mismatch, I think in subsequent audit also you'll be able to justify and explain to anybody that there was a cost of change of name, change of FIRA, change or getting swift information from the counterparty. But if it is completely different third-party payment, again, smaller transactions will not get into so much of scrutiny, but splitting transaction, making it a large amount, using it for specific purpose might land you in trouble later on, not immediately.
And this one, sir, same thing as you asked, the purpose of the funds from remitter, whatever they mentioned, that clause also we have to stick to in these small transactions.
I think no, that can also be addressed in this scenario.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
We'll take a question from chat also, Mr. Vipin Kaushik. We had a trade with a Canadian company and everything settled, payment received via Kotak. By trying to download BRC from DGFT, we found that IRM details are wrongly reflecting as business being carried with some Japanese company instead of Canadian company. I've been writing to the bank to get this corrected. Again, sir, in this case, uh, okay, so how to address the issue, I'll tell you that. If the party is regular, it is very easier for you. And if the party is like one-time contract, you will face an issue. You write to the counterparty, get it on the mail that they are the party from there, and then submit that to bank. They should be updating the same if it is an erroneous entry by the bank. And then if they don't address, you highlight it to the regulator. But if Canadian entities sent the money from Japan through a group entity or something like that, then you have to establish by way of a contract. It could be in a past date, but the party has to agree for the same and give you a proper justification.
So Vipin sir has replied saying that the funds were sent correctly. This was not the case. The funds were sent directly.
Okay, funds were sent directly via Kotak Bank. So if you can unmute and tell me the case exactly, whether Kotak is your AD1 bank or your AD1 bank was someone else, as in Kotak only converted the FX.
Vipin sir, you can unmute yourself. You can do that, sir. Just try once again.
Hello, yeah. Earlier I
Yes.
was not able to unmute myself.
Yes,
So
sir.
yeah, the payment was settled directly, and Kotak is my AD1 bank. I deal with them directly. So it was at the time of uploading the details to the DGFT portal. It was accidentally or maybe erroneously done by them at the bank's end. But every detail I provided was, nowhere did I mention Japan or Japanese company name. It
So
was,
it's a,
and it has nothing to do with any Japanese company, my business or my trade transaction.
got it. Then there are limited options available for editing on EDPMS also if the IRM is incorrectly done. But as an AD who has uploaded, it is still doable. They might be avoiding it because then if they have to go for some approvals internally, then error of a particular staff will come in as
Yeah.
in black and white that okay, they made the mistake. That's why they might be trying to avoid it, but they should be able to do it. You can escalate it to the bank official and they will do it. If they are your AD, they will support it for sure,
Yeah,
sir.
in fact, almost a month ago itself, I received a mail from the bank that we have rectified the incorrect details on the tracks, TRRACS. I don't know what that means. And due
Right.
to the ongoing DGFT IRM issue, the modification will reflect in DGFT once the issue is resolved. And but it was again almost a month ago that I received this mail, and I've been following up since to no avail.
So typically, if they have updated it in tracks, there are sometimes feeds. Even if they confirmed any time in the month of December, whether 1st December, 31st December, ideally the feed to tracks from banks end might have gone on 31st December only. So keep that in mind. Bank may be saying that it takes 30 days, but 30 days from the date they upload. So that's where it could be. Max, you can wait till 31st January, and beyond that, it should be done. It
All
should
right.
not be an issue beyond that.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. We can take question on the anyone who
Yes,
has
sir.
raised hand.
So we have another question from Mr. Patno in the chat box. His question
That's
is, my bank does not show shipping bills details against the drawback which caused issue to settle the DB case. What should I do?
1 minute. Who has posted the question? I'll just
Mr. Sumanchal Patno.
Simanchal Patro. Okay. My bank does not show shipping bill details against the drawback which causes issue to settle DBK. So this issue I have not encountered so far. So I may not be able to address it, but I'll ask my team to check on this and address the same with you, and then give you whatever resolution possible. I've not handled this scenario so far. And we have a few more questions on top of that.
Yes, sir.
Vipin, Ms. Sanabel, Aisha. Okay. What kind of tax benefits if we are starting our startup in Gift City, Gandhinagar? Sir, we have to cover it in a separate call. Most likely tax benefit and all are again, jurisdiction specific matters. In this, we will restrict it to FEMA and regulated route only. Can you please provide Mr. Indunath contact detail? Okay, so this detail will be shared by my team. Mr. Thangraj, even though beneficiary name and bank details are same, air shipment and sea shipment have different RBI purpose codes. Banks are required to process outward remittance based on the purpose code and not just the beneficiary. So in this case, air shipment payment one per. Yeah, so there are scenarios wherein multiple shipments are getting clubbed and all. Okay, he has provided a clarification to the audience. It's perfect. Simanchal Patro question we have taken. Okay, I think we have covered most of the question. Ms. Sindhuja is, okay, Ms. Poonam is asking how to get IRM from Bank Canada required for generating the BRC on DGFT portal. Ma'am, to answer your question, most likely if your AD is Canada only, at the time of processing the payment itself, they should have generated IRM. You can just ask your relationship manager to help you with the IRM. If they have not done it and they have a frequency, say fortnight or monthly, they would be able to generate the same. If the payment is processed in INR, there are various scenarios that you got the money in Canada bank in INR account, but FX is done by some other bank. Then you have to submit the documents to the bank counter before they generate the IRM. So every bank follows a different process, but until unless you submit the regularization document to them that you have made the shipment and this is the inward proof, FIRA or anything that you have you provide to them, they will not generate IRM. So there could be scenarios. Ideally, if they are ready, they should generate upfront. Otherwise, you just submit the bill and they have to generate the IRM. And then automatically you will be able to see that IRM also on the system. Then do BRISKPE provide facilities like packing credit? No, madam, we are only a payments company. We are not into any lending business. Ms. Poonam is saying bank is saying that the link number is the IRM, but on DGFT site not accepting all payments received in. Then, ma'am, what you can do, you get the bill closed. The moment you close the bill, automatically it will flow to DGFT site. That would be easier for you. Then BRC gets pushed over there. Typically, what has happened while DGFT has simplified the process, there are two legs to it. One, if you have IRM, you can do the matching on your own. You can get the BRC. Second is the bank leg, which used to happen earlier. You still have to close your bill. So you give the bill and FIRA to the bank, get it closed. Automatically, BRC gets pushed in the system. You just have to download the same.
I think so. We have covered all the questions as of now. And thank you for such an insightful and wonderful session. And I request if anyone has any question left, we have like last 5 minutes, then we'll bind up the session. Sir, Poonam ma'am has replied. She's saying all the bills are closed. We do online on bank.
So I'll advise Shashank from my team to connect with you and understand exactly what is it. So Mr. Vishal Ganti is asking, can you guarantee the exact market rate, Google rate at the time of booking? Or is there a spread? So we don't charge, we have a transaction fee, of course, because we don't charge for account issuance, receipt, or any other thing. So we have a fee, but that is only a single fee. We do guarantee mid-market rate. But again, You have been dealing with the FX rate for long. You need to understand the Google rate that you are seeing is a cash rate, spot rate, or TOM rate. You need to be very clear, and that causes major difference. Second, and that is also in bips only. 1-2 bips is the difference you see between cash and spot. Typically, if they are holiday, then you see a carry. So you will have dispute with your organization typically when there is a Saturday, Sunday, or combined public holiday and the market is opening, because you are closed, but overseas market is open. So there is always a carry that comes on the rate, on cash rate, because you are instantly crediting the same. So that's how it is done. And during the day, rate changes a lot. We do provide interbank rate only, and it is with absolute transparency. There are no challenges with that. We work with the 4,000 plus exporters, and we have not had a single instance of FX mismatch so far. Yeah, Shashank has
Another
posted
question
email ID.
from Sindhuja. So we have another question from Sindhuja Enterprises. So what is the currency coverage of BRICS?
Okay, so we provide SWIFT for all currencies. Apart from that, local collection, we have USD, Euro, GBP, Canadian dollar, AUD, SGD, AED, as in dirham, and DKK. These are the currencies, sir. Okay, Aditya has answered the questions. Yeah. Which CRM is best for export automation? Sir, I would avoid suggesting that.
I think Vishal's has all
Client
posted a
sends
question.
a payment of 10,000 that covers 3 separate invoices. Yeah, we can do that. Our system supports the split of. We'll settle the split payments if you want. You have option on our system that you can split the payment, or you can combine the payment also. Both are available. You just need to highlight to our ops team. It will be done. And on app also this feature is available. You don't have to hack the system, sir. You will not be able to hack. If a client demands a refund for 3 days after a payment, can I process that refund directly? No, so from my dashboard, you can't process the refund directly because there are some checks that bank does, and which is manual. So you can refund the same to our account. We will give you end-to-end repository of the same. Or if you want from any subsequent incoming which is coming up, through that we can settle. As long as it is not converted in rupee. Once it is converted in rupee and settled to your account, through dashboard you can't do it. And if we have funds available from subsequent payment, we can return the same using the same methods. What's the global registration certificate USA buyer demand GRC? So I'll advise consult with your CA on this. I'm not an expert on that. So PPT will be shared by FIO to all the attendees and registrant. They will be sharing the same. I know if there is often. No, sir, OPGSP transaction is gone long back. There is no OPGSP, Mr. Vishal, and now it is PSCB. So we can do that. We process higher amount transactions also, as long as multiple invoices are there. It's bank to bank. Sometimes banks do not understand the regulation in that manner, but it is done. So, Mr. Subhash, we have both the option. We have option of settling it in EFC as well as rupee. How can you connect to BRISKPE? You can just write to us. Shashank email ID is there. There is always a contact number that will be shared by FIO team along with the presentation, which is our customer service number. You can reach out to them. We'll assign a specific person to you to discuss with your for your questions. Do you use a correspondent bank? We don't use a correspondent bank. So in case our account is received with $1,000, $10,000, we pay you full. But if counterparty has already deducted at the time of incoming, if the deduction has already happened, then that deduction, we have seen that much amount only. So we'll settle what we receive. We'll share the presentation once. Okay. Vishalji, let's chat one-on-one. I think there are a lot of questions from you. We can do it.
Sir, I suggest Mr. Vishal can reach out to you over your email because the time is up, and we'll
Sure.
share the presentation once we conclude this session along with the email IDs. So you can easily reach out. There is no issues with that. Apart from that, if you have any issue with the presentation or the recording, you can reach out to you as well. And thank you, sir, for a very insightful and a very wonderful session.
Thank you. I think there are a few questions which have been left out, Mr. Subhash Bera is saying. So we'll connect with you. Shashank has given his email ID, and we will also share. In fact, the common number we can put over here, right? 7507412090. So this is our direct reach out number. You can connect on this, and we'll assign it to one of the person.
Okay, sir. Thank you once again, sir. And we'll, share all the details with the participants about the presentation and all. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Namaste.